When you were asked what book made you what you are today, you said The 1001 Nights. Why?
I suppose because these were the stories I grew up with. You know, it's long before. I mean, the book is not a children's book. You know, the book is a very adult book. It's certainly not written in language that children would read. But I mean, I first heard these stories of jinn and so on, from my parents as bedtime stories. And then you grow up a little bit and you read them as picture books and comic books and so on, and you eventually graduate to the real books. But it's just, and it's not only The 1001 Nights. I mean, I was obliged in that questionnaire to choose one book. But in India, there's this very large number of compendiums of these kind of wonder tales. In fact, there's one from Kashmir, which in Sanskrit is called the Kathasarit Sagar, which means the ocean of the streams of story, from which I got the idea for another book. But that's actually even longer than the Arabian Nights, and has, I mean, it doesn't have the magical frame story of Shahrazad, but it has a lot of really extraordinary stories. So I grew up with that and the animal fables of the Panchtantra, and, you know, the Ramayan and the Mahabharat and the Hamzanama. There's any number of these things. So you grow up surrounded by fantastic tales, you know. And for me, I mean, that made that kind of writing feel normal. You know, realism showed up later and seemed inferior.
I can see the fascination with these tales as a child, especially when told by your parents. But how did it become so meaningful to you as an adult?
Well, because I mean, I'm interested in folktale and myth and so on, because I think what happens in the stories that last, you know, thousands of years, is that they compress meaning. You know, they contain an enormous amount of meaning in a very short space, and so you can unpack them, and all sorts of stuff comes out.